stood outside Kirton Wood this evening. It's a place that Dilys and I trapped at a couple of times, but mainly early in the year. Certainly never trapped anywhere remotely near tonight's date of July the 27th, 2026. Kirton Wood's just a small wood, and it's owned by the Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust. You may notice that there's 2 cars presently parked outside. I'm waiting for one of those to go before I can get set up. Safely behind locked gates. Well, we're off and running at Kirton Wood at 21:30 on the 27th of July. A very warm and humid 27th of July too. Let's see what we get. You may well be able to hear over the noise of the generator, which is just down to my left. You can hear crickets. Very faint, it's not a loud call, and I think these are dark bush crickets. Kirton Wood is one of just 3 sites that we know of now in Nottinghamshire that currently has dark bush cricket. I think it's elsewhere, there's no doubt about that. Finding it at Laxton earlier this year. And it's nice to know that they are obviously doing well. I've not recorded them here because I am at the entrance to Kirton Wood. The gate is only about 20 yards to my right. Hopefully no one inquisitive will pass by and wonder what the great big light is. And we will be left undisturbed, just me and the moths. And you lot, of course. So what we're going to get tonight, I'm not entirely sure. Certainly the usual suspects. I have had 1 magpie, but we may get something a little bit more interesting than what we've had in recent trapping sessions, because Kirton Wood is predominantly ash and elm, including wych elm. So we'll see what comes in, and we'll certainly give it a couple of hours. It's warm, it's very humid, but conditions are lovely. Well, one of the first moths in is this orange swift. Is it just me, or does it seem early for orange swift? But this is the last of the swift moths to emerge during the year. Nicely marked, quite similar to both common swift and gold swift really, but slightly larger in general. So orange swift gets us off quite nicely. I'm already glad that I've come out here to Kirton Wood. I'd have just stopped at home and watched television and then gone to bed and done it all again tomorrow. But I'm quite excited as to what could turn up here in the height of summer. It has potential, despite it just being a relatively small area of woodland. And it's largely under-recorded too. I can't remember seeing any moth record from Kirton Wood at all, full stop. I'm sure there are odd records, and I'm sure that it would have been trapped a number of times in the past, but I've got no record of them at all, and I've seen no records of those moths trapped if they were. But especially micros, some of the micros that turn up this evening could well be sight firsts. And it's always good to put a new dot on the Nottinghamshire map for a species. So let's hope we do. Well, we have another magpie which has just fluttered straight down onto the sheet and not moved. I wish they all did that, but what a lovely moth it really is, and it's a species that I wish I had on my garden list. I don't, never have, but I haven't trapped in the garden for over a year, so I'm hardly likely to add it to the garden list. But nice to see it here at Kirton Wood. It is a favourite, an old favourite, and I've gone through the reasons a number of times, and certainly in recent videos. But it's always nice to see one of these drop in. Well, I know it's not a moth, and it's something that many moth trappers may have seen. This is Ledra. Ledra aurita, the most fabulous leafhopper. And it's a species that I've been wanting to find and film for several years, since I started the channel, to be honest, and occasionally they do come to light. And here is one such individual. I love these. There's nothing else like these in the UK, and it's a species which I always say has got Mickey Mouse-like ears. We'll go for a front shot, a head-on shot in a second. But I'm stunned at this. Always nice to see. I get maybe 1 or 2 records a year, and they always come accidentally. So that's Ledra. What a little stunner. It's a very pleasant session. And the highlight is actually not a moth. It's little old Ledra, the Mickey Mouse hopper, as I always called it. It's a smashing thing, and hopefully I can get some footage of it during the day. But they often tend to be quite flighty, especially when you shove a camera in their face. But that's not the only sort of non-lepidopteran species of interest. Here's another one, a species which I featured a lot last year on this channel. This is the first worker hornet that's come to light here. She's settled down very nicely, actually. Settled down more than most often do. And I don't mind hornets, but I don't want to be stung by one, and they will be attracted to your light wherever you trap if you're near a nest. If you drop into woodland and as soon as you switch your light on, you're inundated with these things. Switch it off and move. We had to do that once at Gamston Wood. I remember the light had only been on a minute and we'd got over a dozen hornets, so we made a hasty retreat, did Dilys and myself. But this one here is playing very nicely, and I will keep her in this pot, and then as I'm about to go, we'll release her. I pot hornets up. I don't know whether all the people do, because say I don't want to be stung by one of these. I love them and I respect them for the predators that they are. They are one of the top invertebrate predators that we have in the UK. And so by just potting them up, either individually, it depends how many comes in, they aren't a problem. And when I'm done here, she can carry on the good work that hornets do. Can't you? Well, it's been a very nice and enjoyable session. And nothing particularly exciting or noteworthy has turned up, and this session may well go down as being noteworthy for Ledra arriving at the light. Always nice to see Ledra, and our first hornet, not entirely welcome, but it's nice to see that there is a colony here in Kirton Wood, and that obviously is doing well. Hopefully it's just the one that's going to turn up in the light this evening. But of the moths that have come in, Ruby Tiger has not long since dropped into the light. It's the only one that has, and if I just go through the list of what has come in that is of interest, a yellow shell, slightly darker form of yellow shell than what we saw at Loud Wood on the last trapping session. Say 3 orange swift and 3 magpie moth. That's the current totals of each. I don't expect any more orange swift come in, because swift moths usually come in quickly and then stop, to be honest. They're more of a dusk flying species. We have a brimstone in, which, well, we had a brimstone in, and there's a sallow kitten that's just arrived, I've noticed on the sheet too, and I have to put that down. But common carpet is one. Normally it is common, I've seen it pretty much every trapping session, but I don't think common carpet's done particularly well this year, and I've certainly not trapped many. But an attractively marked moth, and one of which, if you're new to trapping, you'll learn quite quickly. And that's pretty much it really of interest on the macro front. On the micro front, prepare for some long names. Epiphyus postfitana, otherwise and better known as light brown apple moth. Originally an Australian species, it's probably the commonest moth you've got in your garden or in your district, and it's, at one time it was more a moth of urban areas, but increasingly it's found at sites like Kirton Wood here and Loud Wood. Only one of those in. Aethes Smith Maniana is an attractive little thing. It's like a miniature version of Agapita hamana. So nice to see. Carcina quercana, which is the first moth name, the scientific name that Dilys learned all those years ago. And that's about it. Good number of mother of pearls, Botania ruralis. There's about 5 in at the moment, but it is early days. So a nice session, a very nice session indeed. Moth trapping isn't all about rarities, and neither should it be. They're nice when they come along, but you need to enjoy catching moths that you'll see regularly. Time for a cup of tea. I see them regularly. Well, it's about time I had the chance to show a brimstone, one of many people's favourite moths. I know it's very common, but it's a beauty, an absolute super species. There's currently 2 on the sheet now, but there's 3 been at the light altogether. Always nice to see a brimstone. This one looks as though it may well be ready for off. A lot of water boatmen this evening, which are disturbing a lot of the moths on the sheet. And we've just seen brimstone, but look at this one. This is a moth that a number of people I know locally would like to catch. This is a scorched carpet. I do quite well for these. They often just turn up as singles, and I'll probably get 2 or 3 records a year. But this one is as fresh as they come. It's an absolute stonker of a little thing, this. Straight out of the tin, but beautifully coloured, beautifully marked. This really is one of those moths that the more you look at, the more you can appreciate the markings. What a beautiful thing. So scorched carpet, a nice one for the year list, and I think I've had a couple of these already, but a nice one for tonight's list, most definitely. Well, it's surprising sometimes where moths settle down, and even on the thinnest of grass blades like this sallow kitten here, all of a sudden there's at least 5 of these that are in at the light, and this has nicely settled down here in a place where we can see it. Very attractive moths are the kittens, both sallow and poplar kittens. Far nicer and more attractively marked than the big puss moth. So nice to see 5 of these. There may well be more joining the party as the trapping session goes on. It's a very nice session. Very pleasant temperature, 18 centigrade it is still. I think it did start off at 19 because it's been a very nice, pleasant and warm day. There are warmer days to come during the middle part of this week apparently. And I didn't expect the temperature to be this high because we'd had a little bit of a breeze this evening, and that's what initially had put me off going trapping. But then I thought, why not? Let's get off out. Better than being sat at home. And 2 nice micros have turned up, micros which I don't trap every sort of day, but maybe get 1 record of each a year. And they're both Ipsilophas, Ipsilopha dentella, often known as the honeysuckle moth, and it's a very attractive moth, sort of brown on the majority of wings, but with the wings being held over the body in tentiform fashion, it creates an almost cream coloured stripe. It's a very distinctive species, nothing else really like it, despite Ipsilophas all being of the same sort of rough size and shape. The other one is Ipsilopha scabrella, which perhaps looks a bit untidy at first glance, but the more you look at it, and if you photograph it well and in daylight, it's an absolute beautiful micro moth, as many are, of course. So I think it's cup of tea time. See what other micros come in. We're doing very well for micros. Micros are making up the bulk of the species list at the moment, and once again, that's very nice to see after a number of lean years for micros at the light. We have a black arches in. Nice to see that this species has made it to Kirton Wood. I'm not surprised, to be honest. So a nice addition to the list. A moth that I've christened the Doodle moth, because that's exactly what it appears like. Somebody started off with a pure white moth, couldn't decide what markings to put on it, and in the process sat doodling, and hey presto, here we have black arches. It's a cracking thing, it really is. Well, it's gone midnight, and so we're coming up to 3 hours. I don't know where they've gone. It's been an enjoyable session. But I'll just go through some of the latter moths that have come in. Gold Spot is one, came in about 10 minutes ago and has promptly gone. But superb moth. It really is an attractive species, and one which you'll soon catch. You never catch them in large numbers. I never have done. Forget sort of 5. That's exceptional, but it's usually 1s and 2s, and it's common throughout. It will turn up at home. Of those other moths, there's a couple of pale prominence in. Lime speck pug is another very attractive moth, and the easily identified of all pugs. Lesser broad bordered yellow underwing, only 2 in, and that's surprising because I expected more. We're really getting in towards the yellow underwing time, but nice to see 2 of those. They are a beautiful moth, and I'd rather see lesser broad bordered yellow underwing rather than broad bordered yellow underwing or large yellow underwing, because the latter 2 species are brutes, and so it gives the moths that are on the sheet a quieter time of it. And it's surprising that I haven't seen large yellow underwing. But Willow Beauty is just a grey moth. You'll see that and you'll think, why on earth has somebody called it a beauty? But there's a number of them, all of similar sort of fare and colour. Sallow kittens, we're up to 7 sallow kittens now. Drinker moths turned up and promptly disappeared into the grasses at the side of me somewhere. But of the micro moths, Acrobasis advenella is an attractive pyralid, and Phyqueta roborella is likewise less attractively marked, but similar sort of size and shape, though slightly larger. Coleophora alcyonipanella is a beautiful coleophora, one of a range of coleophoras that have a really sort of brassy or golden green reflection on the wings, and they're very, very nice. They can be identified. You can rule a number of species out, and especially by taking good quality photographs and making sure you can see all the details on the antenna. So that's about all that's come in. We've had a few sort of water veneers turned up, but generally it's been quite quiet in the last 10 minutes or so. But I'm going to have another cup of tea, and then we'll see what the state of affairs is when I've had that, and then maybe we'll pack up and head for home. But it's time I had another wander around the sheet after my tea. Well, nice to see 4 common carpets. That's probably as many as I've seen all year. There's obviously a couple that's just got one there and one there, one that has gone and another one just tucked under there. So nice to see 4 with one on top of the box actually. There's another one back on the box. And a fabulous Grand-bearded Catoptria penella, which doesn't look much there, but when I put a photo in, you'll be impressed. It's a fabulous Catoptria, very nice indeed, quite striking. It's not a moth that I've seen for a year or two actually, and little tortrix there. I'll put a photo in, and that's a Cleris forskelliana, or words to that effect. Small and diminutive, but very nicely marked. Lots of reticulations on the forewings. So that's a couple of species that have just come in. Maybe I'll have another cup of tea. Trouble is, the longer you stop, the more comes in, and the more you're encouraged to stop further. Well, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, time to pack up and then head home.